Just one more time. Are you ready for your speaker today? Yeah. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, Brad don't know this, but I've been legally stalking him for years. The way his company markets online, the way that he presents his marketing and his company, there's no doubt in my mind, this guy is one of the best in the business. Trust me, because I've tried everything I could to pull back those curtains until I picked up the phone and asked him to come here and speak. Because I know what matters most is having people in front of you that are not just walking the walk and talking the talk, but people who are doing the business in the regions and the areas that you are in. That's what matters the most. And that's what you're going to get in today's presentation. So, I want each and every one of you to stand up. Now, raise your left hand. No, just joking. Give Brad a great big hand. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, sir. How is everyone doing this morning? Can you hear me okay in the back? Yes. All right. So, to begin with, I'm gonna have a ton of content. One of the things I share with Charles is that we started a meetup group just 4 months ago. We're very small compared to Charles, but we have the same principles. We don't sell anything, we don't charge anything. We have been, myself and my company have been tremendously blessed over the years, and we like to give back. So I'm here, just like I tell my meetup group, to give you guys all of the content with no holes barred. We're gonna take exactly how we do 200 properties a year. So a ton of great stuff in this presentation. If you type text download to that number, you'll get a copy of this presentation. We do have a wholesales meetup group and a couple opportunities to follow me on those social media outlets. So the agenda today, we're probably going to skip number one, who we are. I want you guys to kind of connect with me and my company and our core values. What we need, I want to talk a little bit about wholesaling, touch on coaching. It's not something we do. You've got Charles for that. And then jump into today's topic. The topic is 2 meetup groups, so I'm going to combine them. I was told I had 90 minutes, so you guys are going to get a ton of information on marketing. That's what we feel we do best as a company. That's what I've spent most of my time as the CEO and the marketing director doing in the last 12 years building the company. So you guys will get a lot of information on marketing. So I think I have a pretty interesting story. I read a book in 9th grade by Robert Allen on how to buy real estate with no money down. I decided that I want to do this business. An investor bought my neighbor's house in 2002 in Vienna, and I went over and talked to him, and he said, I buy houses at steeply discounted prices from sellers who are motivated. And I said, geez, I've got 2 degrees in real estate, and no one ever taught me that. I thought you got rich in real estate by buying a house or an apartment, putting down 20%, getting bank financing for the 80%, letting it pay off, and then 30 years you had a house paid off, hopefully that appreciated. That's how I thought you got wealthy in real estate. That is how you get wealthy in real estate, and that's one of the best ways, but I had no idea that flipping and wholesaling even existed. And I had an MBA and a real estate license and an undergraduate degree. So anyway, I struggled for months to find my first deal. My son, who's in the room, who's now 14, had just been born. So I worked a full-time job. I came home at 6 o'clock, spent from 6 to 8 o'clock, put him to bed, and then worked from 8 to midnight every single night, writing letters, handwritten postcards. I worked on weekends. I drove and put out door hangers. I did everything possible. I came to these meetings and I saw all these people, just like Charles did, get up here and say, I'm doing this deal, I'm doing this deal. And I was sitting where you guys were saying, I cannot get my first deal. And as you can see, the next bullet point, I started with a negative net worth of $80,000. That was my net worth in 2002. Graduate school cost me $80,000, and that's what I had to work with. So every day that went by, I got more and more persistent. And I said, if the three folks are up here, you guys should be saying the same thing. If they can do it, there's nothing special about them. They've just worked really hard. You guys can do it too. So I'm here as a testimony, 2,000 houses later, that it does work. My first deal, my mom was a nurse, so she wasn't wealthy, never made more than $60,000. She loaned me $20,000 on my first deal. I got my first deal by asking the $1 million question. Robert Sheeman taught me this question many years ago, and it's a simple question. You ask everyone you know, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell real estate? So it was a Friday night, I got a call. I'd put the first house I ever got, I got by keeping in touch and networking, which I know Charles is a big advocate of. I made an offer to this lady 6 months before. I way overpriced the house, but I kept in touch with her. Her realtor called me and said, hey, you're a foreclosure expert. It's going to foreclosure in a week, so you can help, right? And I'm like, yeah. I hung up the phone. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? So I called a mentor, and he's like, do this, blah, 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 blah. Buy it subject to, put it in a land trust. I'm like, what in the heck did he just say? Somehow I pulled it off. I bought that house. I flipped it. I made $43,000. That was my first or second deal. But I put a We Buy Houses sign in the front yard because I'm a master marketer. I'm always marketing. You guys should have it on your, we'll go over that in a second. There was a sign in the front yard. A lady called on a Friday night and she said, I want to buy the house. Well, I already sold it. So instead of hanging up on her at 7 o'clock, I said, but hang on, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell a house? She goes, well, my mom has a house in Arlington. This was 2003. I go, oh, it's a single family? She says, yeah, a single family brick. She lives in North Carolina. It's a hassle to her. And she wants she wants $220,000 for it. Immediately, I'm like, you don't have to know a lot about real estate to know the single family house in Arlington, when someone wants $220,000, you're thinking, man, what do I have here? So she calls me, she goes, let me call my mom. She calls me back 20 minutes later. I'm convinced she was drinking because she was sounding a little funny. She goes, I got my mom down to $180,000. I bought the house, thought that I could buy it for $180,000, put in $30,000, and it would sell for $350,000. Like every new investor, it didn't take $20,000 worth of work. It took $50,000, and instead of selling for $350,000, it sold for $310,000, but I still made $60,000 from that one question that I still continue to ask to this day. And that one question is how I met my partner, and had I not met my partner, we wouldn't have this, one of the largest home buying companies in the country now. So, good lesson learned. Ask that question. Got remarried in November. And that's my wife and her 2 kids and my 2 children in Mexico. Our team, we're up to over 30 people now. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. The names kind of merged. But anyway, we're up to almost 30 people. If you count the VAs, we're over 30 people. We use VAs just like Brittany does. Are you still in here, Brittany? Yeah. Anyway, we use a lot of VAs. So Express Home Buyers, tell you a little bit about it. We have 3 buckets. We have a buy, fix, and sell. We were founded in 2003. We've done 2,000 houses. So I went from being in the room, sitting where you guys are, saying, why am I not doing my first deal? Looking at everyone else doing their first deals. And here we are. I don't know even what we're at. We're 2,200 houses. We're on pace this year. We're probably going to do 240 houses this year. Our second bucket is condo development. We do condo development deals in the district from 2 to 20 units. So we'll take a row house, we'll go up and we'll go back, or we'll take an apartment community and turn it into condos. Our third bucket is property management. We started buying houses in Prince George's County primarily in 2010 to 2012. We got really lucky. We bought some of those houses at like 40% of replacement value. Anytime you can buy a house at 30 to 40% of replacement value, take my advice, buy as many as you can. I wish we would have bought double of them. We sold a house to a homeowner in Capitol Heights in 2008 for $278,000, completely renovated, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. We bought it back in 2010, the same exact house. The people kept it in pristine condition. They put a $5,000 privacy fence. We bought it back for $100,000. So that time is going to happen again, and be ready to, that's when you really want to buy and hold when those prices go down. Investors wanted, we've got a $6 million fund that we started last April. We could use another $5 million if you guys know of any investors. I'm going to really breeze through these because I just want to get you a flavor of who we are as a company. These are our core values: perseverance, fairness. Perseverance is, I talked about that when I was starting the business. Fairness, humility, and confidence. If there's a problem, fix it. Learn and improve. Charles spoke about that. We're constantly about learning. You guys have to, if you want to learn, you got to constantly if you want to learn, it's not something you just stop doing at any age. I was talking to Erwin earlier, and he was telling me he struggled sometimes with talking to sellers, and I said, you got to get up every morning and role play. So just role play till you guys get comfortable with it. It's like the first time you tried anything. It's really difficult the first time, but after you do it, it becomes easier and easier. And then finally, work-life balance. My family is really important to me. We're always looking for talented folks, so you can, if you know anyone, you can go to that site. Wholesaling. Most of you guys know what wholesaling is, but I'm just going to do a brief introduction. So I go to Brandon, and I say, Brandon, I'm going to buy your house for $100,000. He says, okay. I get it under contract. I have a legally binding contract with Brandon. And I know Esther is a rehabber. So I go to Esther and I say, Esther, I have a house on 123 Maple Street in Capitol Heights that I'd like to sell you for $120,000. Esther runs her numbers. She goes, sounds like a great deal to me. So Esther and I do an assignment of contract. All I'm doing is I'm assigning the legally binding contract I have with Brandon to Esther. Esther shows up at closing. She writes a $120,000 check to the title company. Brandon gets his $100,000. I get my $20,000, which is the difference, and that's called an assignment fee, and it's right on the HUD-1. So I said that a little fast, but it's a pretty simple concept. What's good about wholesaling? There's little or no money needed. It's very, very low risk, and it's highly scalable. My initial thoughts on wholesaling when I was in these meetings 13 years ago is I thought the wholesaling was for less sophisticated beginners, and I thought the smart guys rehabbed, and man, was I wrong. We're now wholesaling about 30% of our houses. Rehabbing is really, really tough. If you ask me my number one challenge in my business right now, it's freaking construction. It is an absolute nightmare. Rehabbing one house a month is not easy. Trying to rehab 15 houses a month is insanely difficult. So wholesaling is the way to go most times, and you get paid immediately. I know there's some guys in my mastermind group that are making $2 million a year from wholesaling. They don't have any contractors or anything on their staff. So it's highly scalable. Renovating, obviously it's just the opposite. It's capital intensive. You need money to buy the house and renovate the house. Cost overruns and unknown variables. Market changes due to long hold times. Do you know that most builders have gone bankrupt? The reason they go bankrupt is because they get this piece of land under contract, and the price of the house that would sit on that today is going to sell for, make up a number, $250,000. They got to wait 18 months sometimes to sell. Do you guys remember what happened in 18 months from 2007 to 2008? The world fell apart. So now that $250,000 house, they're lucky if they can get $175,000 for it, and they're screwed. A lot of them signed personally, so it's very, very risky. Bottom line is it's higher risk for more potential upside. We did I don't know why it's not on here. I have a $4,500 blunder point that didn't come up there. We sold a house 3 or 4 years ago in DC, did everything by the book, got the inspectors out, permitted, licensed contractors, and I don't know how long ago, 6 months ago, this homeowner lit us up on social media saying that we were, taking advantage of her, that the basement was flooded, that we knew about it. We didn't know about it because we waterproof houses all the time. We don't want to not waterproof a house and then the home inspector come and say, the basement's leaky, and then the deal falls apart. So we did it. I could have fought her. I could have spent $50,000 litigating. What did I do? I wrote her a $4,500 check. I did nothing wrong. You don't ever, when I'm wholesaling Brandon's house, it's now Esther's problem. I'm out of it. Someone could come sue me, but I've never touched the property. I never owned the property. So just keep that in mind when you hear the gurus talk about, wholesaling or rehabbing as the way to go, because it's really not. We don't do coaching. However, just like Charles in this group, we have a ton of awesome content that we developed since April, since we started. ExpressHomeBuyers.com/category/wholesalers has a ton of incredible information, including some of our videos from our prior meetups where we go over marketing, how to close people, how to value properties, how to how to estimate renovations. Bigger Pockets, an amazing resource for you guys, free online resource, tons and tons of great information. Sean Terry is one of the better gurus out there. His podcast has been downloaded, 3 million times. Listen to that over and over again. When you're in the car, instead of talking to your friends or playing the radio, continuous learners always learn. So be listening to these podcasts. They are awesome. I don't hardly ever listen to the radio. I'm always listening to improve myself. If at the end of that you still think you need hand-holding, Sean offers coaching, but you guys got some of the best coaches right here in the room. All right. Free coaching. I value my time at somewhere north of $500 an hour. If an investor brings me a deal, the next one I will spend an hour going over their business and teaching them how to grow it. I've done a pretty good job of growing a business. I know a couple things, so that's an incentive to do some deals with us. So now we're going to jump into the meat of the presentation. How to find motivated sellers from a beer to a champagne budget. I'm freezing up here, guys, so that's why you see I'm not really nervous. My teeth are almost chattering. All right, so when I started my meetup, the first meetup presentation I ever did was this presentation. And then it was a two-part series, like I said earlier. The first one was how to find it on a beer budget. The second was the champagne. You guys are going to get both of those today. In hindsight,